What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pub Sports Radio and welcome to the Draftkings Picks and Prediction Show. This week we are breaking down UFC Jacksonville. Have a 14-fight slate, 28 different fighters, lots of options to talk about. As always, we are here with myself, Gordo, Uncle Weezy. Monk will not be joining us, but we'll kick it to you first, Gordo. What is up? Are you looking forward to this card?
I actually really am. I think it's a very, very fun card from both an entertainment and a DraftKings perspective, and I'm hyped to hear your guys' thoughts on it. Hopefully, we get ourselves one that delivers because it does have a ton of fights that look to do so. So I'm excited to hear your thoughts on it.
Heck yeah, we got Uncle Weezy in the building. Weezy, what is up? You looking forward to UFC Jacksonville?
This card is great. I really like this card, basically from top to bottom. I was looking at fights to fade as one of the things that we do on this card, and like there are literally none. This is awesome matchmaking. There's 14 fights, and I find literally every single one of them compelling, except for one. And that one that I really don't find compelling, I think you have to own it in DraftKings as well. This is a really fascinating week to break down from a DraftKings perspective. So I'm interested to hear your guys' angles too, because I had a really hard time coming up with a lineup.
Yeah, I feel that. I've changed mine a couple times already, which I don't typically do. But yeah, should be interesting from a DraftKings perspective. Before we get into it, guys, if you guys can please leave a like on the video, subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio. We go live every Wednesday talking some DraftKings. Monk will be back next week. What is up, everybody in the chat? I see only one Jack, EQ, all you guys. Hit the like button for us. We do appreciate it here at Pub Sports Radio. But I say we get right into it here. We're going to start with the fight to target. And I will take this one. I'm going to take Trevor Peek, Chepe Mariscal fight to target here. What are these prices? 8,200 for Trevor Peek, and then Mariscal is 8,000. This fight's expected to finish. I think the fight doesn't go on some books. It's like -5 something. The under 1.5 is completely juiced, and you can see why with the way Trevor Peek fight. Really, both guys. These fights. These guys are going to go to war. These guys are going to go after it. I think this fight probably finishes in the first round. I do lean towards to the Peak side, but Mariscal dangerous in his own right. But yeah, I love this fight to target, a fight that I think finishes, and I'm going to have a ton of it, especially at these price tags with that first round upside. Weezy, what is your favorite fight to target this week?
Yeah, I picked that one as well, but the honorable mention for me was David Onama versus Gabriel Santos. If I'm looking at how these guys have scored so far in the UFC, with Onama, you've got 3.5 points scored per minute, and he's allowing 4.75 points per minute against. And then if you go down to Gabriel Santos, he scored 4.23 points per minute against Murphy in his debut, and he allowed 3.38. So I see this being a really high volume, up and down fight. There's going to be a lot of wrestling mixed in. There's going to be a lot of strikes thrown, and I think that there's a pretty good probability of a finish too. My prop template actually likes the overs for this fight, but stylistically, I mean, there's no way in hell I would bet an over in this fight because it would be torture to watch it because this is going to be all output, all action, and I think both these guys are great finishers. They've just never been finished in their careers, so I think that whether this thing goes the full 15 or somebody gets a finish, it's going to be a very high-scoring fight on both sides.
Yep, I like that one. It's going to be a very good fight. Potential fight of the night, that one for sure. I think they're also going to go to war. Gordo, what is your favorite fight to target from a DraftKings perspective?
Yeah, that's a fun one. But the truth is, we could all give out like 2, maybe even 3 fights to target this week. There are so many good ones, including ones that are lined to finish under 1.5 rounds. I mean, I could talk about the main event. I could talk about Brundage versus Dumas. Let's give the 2 big boys a shout here. Justin Tafa, Austen Lane is one I can consider targeting as well. Both these guys are going to go out there and they're going to have a sloppy heavyweight fight. And as much as it's not the most technical or prettiest thing to see, it scores well in DraftKings. We saw Tafa go out there last time, get a first-round finish, score above 100 points. I mean, whoever's getting him fights going from Fandera, Hunsucker, Porter to Lane, like, get this guy's manager a raise, first of all. But either way, the win conditions for both these guys score very, very well. It is a fight I am projecting to end in that first round. Winner should score well. Sloppy heavyweight fight.
I like it. Very sloppy. I like it. My water has arrived. I was very thirsty.
Yes.
I ordered the water. And there we go.
Ordered it.
All right. So, anywho, let's move on to our fight to fade. And like Weezy mentioned, not a ton of options to fade this week. Typically on a card, Even a card like this, a really good card. There's always that fight where you're like, why is this fight on here? This fight sucks. Like the Muslim Salikov fight last week or the Bukaskas fight. This week, there's no fight like that. Like I'm looking forward to all 14 fights, believe it or not. So finding a fight to fade was very tough. Really curious to hear what you guys have to say. We'll start with you, Gordo. What is your fight to fade for this week?
Yeah, for like you said, it's really hard to find a fight you really want to fade. I think you can give a case to all these fighters, and we're going to talk about that when we talk about a fighter to fade. But I had to go with the Ribas versus Barber fight, and not because of the way that Ribas fights, but purely just because we've seen Maycee Barber slow down fights before in the past. She's someone who has been content to get these 60, 65 point decision, and although it's going to be hard to do that against Ribas, when you got a style like that, one that's projected to go the distance, projected to be a slower fight at times, it's not going to compete with the fights who are ended or supposed to end in that very first round. So I think when you're looking at these ones that when you're nitpicking for ones you want to fade, Barber and Ribas stand out, especially considering the way Barber fights.
Yeah, there's a lot of fights that are expected to end inside the distance. I think that one is the least likely, according to the odds, to finish this week. So don't hate it. Weezy, what fight are you fading this week?
Yeah, instead of giving you a fight to fade, I'm going to give you a little bit of commentary on the state of the UFC today and talk about this card a little bit, okay? This is a great card. UFC on ABC 5 in front of a live crowd in Jacksonville, Florida, right? But what we've seen recently is a lot of horse shit slapped together cards that look like contractual obligations. It looks like the guy who is forced to show up to work on Saturday, like in Office Space, and he's just going to sleep through the alarm. He doesn't want to be there, but they put together these cards. Now, if they were trying, if they gave a shit about the fans, people like us, people that watch this sport, gamble on it, just would watch it whether there was gambling or not involved on it. These are the kind of cards that you want to see put together. And it's because they're trying. It's because it's a UFC on ABC 5 card. It's because there's money behind this. And it's because it's not just a contractual obligation. They're actually trying to sell out, live, put asses in the seats, right? And this is working. This is a great card from top to bottom. And I think if the UFC starts trying more and when they start traveling more and they get rid of these dumbass Apex events, you're going to see 14 fight cards where there is literally not one fight that you want to fucking fade on DraftKings because there's an exciting fighter, a marketable fighter on every single one of these 14 fights. So I'm not fading any of them this week. And what I want the UFC to do is to start trying harder.
Yeah, I agree 100%, but we'll see if that happens. It looks like just they scheduled some more cards for the Apex in like September and stuff. So
Yep.
we'll see. But yeah, they have a crowd, so they have to put on a show, and they are this week. Very good card. For me, I will pick a fade. And on like a 12 fights normal slate, I probably wouldn't fade this fight, but I'm going to go with actually Jamal Emmers, Jack Jenkins. It's a fight that I think goes the distance, a fight where I don't think there's a ton of grappling, wrestling either way. I think Jamal Emmers probably does win the fight, so I will be fading that fight on DraftKings for the most part. But yeah, like you said, Weezy, there's not a ton of fights you just want to completely roll out this way, which you might have on a 14 fight slate. You might have to make some tough decisions this week. You can't play all 28 fighters really, but we shall see what happens. All right.
Let me just say this, Brady, real quick. Those were the two fights that I was thinking about fading. Was the point that that Gordo made about Barber, and then you just talked about the Emmers Jenkins fight, which I think probably goes the distance. I think probably nobody gets finished there, but still, those guys are high volume guys as well. They're scorers too. So yeah, I just don't think there's much to fade this week.
No, I mean you're not fading Brundage, Dumas, you're not fading Tyara, you're not fading the Peak fight, you're not fading the Ricci fight, the Rebecca fight, the Brown fight, even the Magny fight. You're not fading any of these fights. I mean, it's tough this week to find one to fade.
Absolutely.
All right, let's move on to the fighter to fade, and I will kick it off to you, Weezy. Which fighter are you fading this week?
So, yeah, I mean, like, I really don't like fading anybody this week, but if I had to do one, it would be just because of the stylistic matchup for this fight. I kind of feel like Tabitha Ricci's out of her league against Jillian Robertson, to be honest with you, I think nobody really is taking into account the fact that Jillian's been fighting her entire career up a weight class. And she's been dominating a lot of decent grapplers up a weight class. And, like, the women that she's losing to, they're on a different level than Tabitha Ricci. And Tabitha Ricci, she just hasn't beaten anybody yet. Spider Girl Oliveira, okay. A 42-year-old Jessica Penne, okay. What was the other win? I mean, it's a forgettable win.
Yeah.
Vienna.
Okay, that's her best win, though. That's her best win because Vienna can actually grapple. But, like, Jillian Robertson, she's been in there with Taylor Santos. I mean, she's been in the UFC for 6 years, She's been around the block, and now she's moving down a weight class. And this could, she was a very good grappler, finishing 7 of her 9 UFC wins by submission, you guys. Who has Tabitha Ricci finished? None of the seamstresses and Uber drivers that she's beaten. So I think that Jillian Robertson is going to win this fight. I think that her wrestling, now that she's training over at the Goat Shed, is getting a lot better. She's Canadian. And let's face it, Canada right now is absolutely on a run. Stand up, Canada. 6-0 a week and a half ago in Canada. So, yeah, you got to love it. I think that Jillian Robertson's going to get the job done. So I think that Tabitha Ricci's a little bit out of her depth here. I think she's a good fade.
Fair enough. I'm going to go with a Zhalgas Zhumagulov 9,000. Just hate the price tag for Zhalgas. I actually think he scores well. I actually think he wrestles, gets takedowns, but it's just so hard to go up there and get Zhalgas when you have so many better options. You got Tafa, who's cheaper. You got Gabriel Santos. You got Brendan Allen. You got so on and so forth. You got guys that are much cheaper that I like more than Zhalgas. So although I think he scores well, I think he wins the fight. I think he gets takedowns. I think he wins this fight by decision. I don't know if he's going to pay off that 9,000 there. So I'll be fading Zhalgas Zhumagulov. Just really don't like the price tag for him, although I think it's a really good matchup for him. Gordo, which fighter are you fading this week?
Yeah, before I get to that, when's the last time we cheered about Canadian MMA? Come on, this is a win. I got to celebrate it a bit. Either way, my fighter to fade here is someone we've already talked about, which is unfortunate. Jamal Emmers is someone I'm fading this week. 8.6. I just don't really see how he's able to compete with the people around him. It is a fight that is expected to go the distance, and I do think that the line might be a little wide as well. I'm actually leaning towards the side of Jenkins this week too, which, the line's going towards Emmers. That's fair, but what's his win condition? Is he going to go out there and finish Jenkins? I think Emmers is pretty talented and he has the ability to win a decision, but even doing that, how does he score? Does he outscore Brundage? Does he outscore Tafa? Does he outscore the people around him? I don't necessarily think so, and for that reason, I'll be fading him for sure.
Sounds good to me. All right. Let's move on to our favorite dog. A couple dogs sticking out this week. We'll start with you, Gordo. What's your favorite dog this week?
Right back to me. My favorite dog this week is going to be Loic Radzhabov, someone who just scored 120 points his last time out. I do think this guy is for a very, very live fight here, just because the way this fight plays out. I mean, his opponent, Rebecca, is going to be someone who is a fire hydrant, super, super tough, super explosive, a lot of finishes, but he doesn't seem to be the best minute winner, and he doesn't seem to have the best ability to really go out there and fight against adversity. I think that Radzhabov's a guy who's going to put his head down and look to grapple over and over and over again, someone who's going to have the ability to put up a high score in doing so. So Radzhabov's for me a guy who has been pretty durable, never knocked out, and I think that he's a guy who's going to go out there, fight a solid game plan, wrestle, and get a decent score on DraftKings by doing so. Landed 11 takedowns last time. I hope he can get at least 4 or 5 here and win the fight.
Yeah, that's who I had as well. I'll give a different one because there were a couple other ones sticking out. I'm going to go with SD Dumas. He's 7,500, which just seems really cheap. I feel like this fight should be a lot closer. Could Brundage go out there, either knock him out, take him down, sub him? Yeah, but Dumas has a lot of power. Dumas has submissions in his own right. I feel like somebody's getting finished here and probably finished in the first round with the way Cody Brundage has been fighting as of late. So at 7,500, I think Dumas, if he wins, pulls off the upset, it's going to be early and it's going to be by finish, and I think he scores very well. So like Dumas, but I'm right there with you with Radzhabov. 7,800, I think is a ton of upside as a dog this week. Weezy, who's your favorite dog this week?
I was just going to say, thank God that Lou isn't here, but yeah, Lou's here, man. Yeah, he's here. No. Yeah, my number one choice was Radzhabov as well, but I'll give you another one. How about Jillian Robertson? Because the last time Ricci didn't fight a tomato can or a seamstress, she got knocked out in the second round by a fighter who's way out of her class in Manon Firo, but I haven't seen any evidence yet to suggest Tabitha Ricci's like this great UFC fighter. Jillian is younger. She's bigger. She's taller. She's more experienced. She's fought and beaten a much better brand of competition. I think Jillian's shifting camps to the Goat Shed is going to make a big difference in her wrestling, and it's already starting to show the improvements that we saw in the Piero Rodriguez fight. This is her second fight down at 115. She's going to be fighting a much smaller opponent. I think Jillian's the better wrestler, and I think she's the better grappler, and I think she wins this fight.
Sounds good to me. And yeah, there's a couple other ones that stick out. I'm sure we'll talk about them more along the show there. But right now, we're going to talk some prize picks. We talked a little bit of prize picks before the show. Uncle Weezy, I'll kick it to you. I like your play this week. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty wild play to me. And I think hopefully you guys can find something to pair this with, because you can't just play one on prize picks. But I like the Trevor Peek over 30.5 significant strikes. Let me give you guys some fun numbers on Trevor Peek. Trevor Peek was landing at distance, but it's only in one fight. It's obviously a small sample size, but he's landing 14.61 significant strikes per minute spent at distance, and he's attempting 27.2. And it's not like Peek's got like this one punch knockout power. He's gonna knock you out with volume and the hammer fists, like he's Dusty Rhodes coming in with an elbow, you know. It's pretty crazy, but he throws a ton of volume, and with as much volume as he throws, even if this fight goes 3 or 4 minutes at distance, you're still covering 31 significant strikes. So I think that's a really low number for significant strikes for Trevor Peek. I love the over. Find me something to pair it with.
Yep, I had that as well. I also like that Trevor Peek more on the fantasy score as well. It's set at 80.5. Like if he wins this fight, it's going to be well over 100, probably a first round knockout. So I like that. I'm going to go with the Randy Brown less on the fantasy score. It's very high this week, 98.5 on that fantasy score. I guess if he hits that, it's probably because he knocks out Turman in the first round, which is possible, I suppose. But I don't think he's taken down Turman. It just wouldn't really make much sense. He's going to be the much better striker. He's going to have a big height and reach advantage on the feet. I think Brown does win this fight and potentially gets a knockout, but 98.5, that is a ton this week. So I'm going with the lower, the less on the Randy Brown fantasy score. Gordo, anything sticking out to you on prize picks this week?
As much as I love this DraftKings slate, it is tough on prize picks. I'm going to go with the one that's a bit unorthodox, I think, this week. I'm going to go with Tadzutsu Taira over 25 significant strikes. And for me, this was more so just due to the fact that I think that we're going to have a little bit of resistance from Rodriguez. I still think Taira wins this fight, and I still think he's going to have a predominant grappling affair. But I don't mind Rodriguez's explosiveness. I don't mind his ability to get back up. Maybe he's going to be tougher to take down than Taira expects. And for that reason, we get a striking affair. I mean, Taira landed 57 against Candelario. He averages 2.7 per 15 minutes, per minute. And if this fight does go over 10 minutes, you do have yourselves a one that does cash there. So give me the over 25 significant strikes.
All right. We got the over 20. You said 25?
Yes.
25.5. Yeah.
25.5. There you go. And I guess they're expecting Tyra to take him down and sub him in the first minute. I don't know. I mean, maybe, but no, I like that as well. We got the less on the Randy Brown fantasy score, and then we got the Trevor Peek more on the significant strikes. I'm not sure what Monk has, but I'm sure he'll let us know in the group chat later in the week. All right, let's move on to our favorite GPP play. We'll start with you, Gordo. What do you like in this week?
Yeah, favorite GPP is, let's give you kind of a 50-50 here. It's that Peek Mariscal fight. You guys already talked about it. I'm going to talk about Trevor Peek myself just because he is someone who you're going to have if he wins this fight. I'm not saying he wins this fight all the time, but when he does, it's going to come with a lot of aggression early on. It's going to come with some tomahawks going forward, and it's going to be a fun fight to watch. And it's at this point where, do I want to stand in front of Trevor Peek? And I don't think he's the most gifted fighter technically, but he's got heart. He's got that dog in him, and he's going to go forward and try to win you this fight. And in doing so, he has a very, very high ceiling to do so. I think if Trevor Peek wins this fight, he scores very, very well. And I am picking him to do so. So he's definitely someone I want to get into these GBP lineups. A first round finish would not surprise me nor anybody.
I like it. For me, I'm going to go with someone who I think has a ton of upside. I think someone that could look like a massive favorite in this matchup if he fights smart, and that is a big if with this guy. But it's Brendan Allen, 9,100. I think he has such a significant advantage on the mat. I know Bruno Silva is a black belt in BJJ. I call BS on that one. I mean, he's been subbed like 7 times. He's terrible off his back. I mean, if Brendan Allen wrestles here, I think he runs through Bruno Silva in the very first round. I don't think it's close. The problem with Brendan Allen, though, is sometimes, like, when you want him to grapple, he's going to strike. When you want him to strike, he's going to grapple. I mean, he does the complete opposite of what you expect him to do. So I'm hoping Allen comes in here with not only a great haircut, but with a great game plan. And if he does, 9,100, I think he's going to put up a big score here. Weezy, who's your favorite GPP play this week?
I guess it's Justin Tafa, and I'm not enthusiastic about it, but I'm even less enthusiastic about Austen Lane's prospects here in the UFC. I just don't think Lane's any good. I'm not high on Tafa either, but he's got bricks for hands, and his win condition is a first-round knockout. So I think that's probably what's going to happen here. I've compared Austen Lane's striking to Virna Jandiroba's. So, when you make that comparison, please, for the love of God, take the other side, if you think it's going to be a boxing match. So, yeah, I'm going with Tafa. I think he probably does get the job done. He probably does pay off his salary. So that's where I'm going with.
I like it. Yeah. First round knockout at 8,800. You can, that's really good. So I like that as well. All right. Moving on to the favorite cash play. I'll kick us off here. I'm going to go with, probably my favorite play on the slate. It's Ilia Topuria here, 9,500. If Monk was here, I'm sure he'd talk a lot about him and talk a lot about that 9,500 salary. But yeah, I mean, it's a matchup where I do feel like Emmett is getting pretty disrespected in terms of the line. Like Topuria is like minus 300 something. But Emmett's now 38 years old at featherweight. It looks like the weight cut is really starting to get to him. It's not going to get any easier this time around. I'm curious to see how he looks on the scales, because last time he looked just rough, like very, very bad. Topuria, tons of power on the feet, BJJ black belt, good wrestling. I feel like he can win this fight anywhere it goes, and I think if he does win, it comes early on as well. So 9,500, I like Topuria to win this fight. There's not a lot of confident picks I have on this card, but Topuria is definitely one of them, I'd say. Weezy, who's your favorite cash play this week?
For me, it's going to be Tatsuro Taira. I mean, this kid has looked flawless so far. He doesn't appear to be weak anywhere. His grappling is functional and precise. I think he takes Clayton down, gets to his back, and eventually finishes him, whether it's in the first, second, or the third. Or if he doesn't, I think he's probably going to get 3 takedowns, about 12 minutes of control time, and a decision win where he scores like 90-something points. So, I think that Taira is a safe pick this week. And he's so good defensively that he's going to win the fight. It's just a question of how easy he makes it look.
There we go. Yeah, Lou has an announcement in the chat. I'm looking at it right now, but I'll let him announce it. I don't want to steal his thunder. So go ahead and announce it, Lou. I'll bring it up. But Gordo, what do you got for the cash play?
Oh, I see that announcement. There you go. We get that. Makes Lou happy. I'll tell you that for a fact.
Decent match.
Okay.
Huh? I like that.
It'll be fun. All right. You want to guess who Lou's going to take in that fight?
Not Chris Curtis.
All right. For me, my cash play this week, you guys already covered my top 2, so go down to option number 3, and it's not as pretty because you never really want to take a guy in cash when you're facing David Onama, but I'm taking Gabriel Santos. I think he's a guy in cash who's going to go out there and put on a very, very fun fight. I like his wrestling upside. I like the fact he's shown decent durability so far. And I think he's going to be in a very fun brawl for as long as it lasts, and I do think that he's going to have the edge here. I do think he wins this fight, and although he may not have that same security that a Topuria or a Taira does, I think he does win this fight at a decent high clip, mixing in some takedowns, surviving that power threat from Onama, and making a very, very fun fight out of it.
Yep, another guy with a lot of upside. I mean, this 9K range is stacked this week. Let's move on to our favorite value play. I'll kick us off. I'm going to give a different one that I think is going to be pretty low owned, and it's going to be someone in Joshua Van, 7,200 against Zhalgas. First of all, Zhalgas probably shouldn't be 9,000 against anybody, because even if he wins the fight, he's probably going to lose. So we have that going for Van there. But yeah, Van, I'm actually really impressed with the guy in terms of his striking, in terms of his finishing ability. His takedown defense definitely needs some work, and I feel like Zhalgas probably does win via takedowns. But I mean, he's dangerous on the feet. He's only 21. We can see him improve a little bit there. And if this fight does go to decision, which I do lean towards it doing so, and like I said, the robbery can be in play there. So I don't mind some Joshua Van, 7,200 finish upside, robbery upside at a very cheap price tag there against Zhalgas, who just, I don't know, hasn't really ran away with the fight unless it's Jerome Rivera, and I think Van's a lot better than Rivera there. So give me Van as far as the value play goes. Gordo, how about you? Who are you liking for value?
Yeah, I'm mad at myself here because I don't want to repeat fights we've already talked about, but for me, value this week is going to be someone that Lou should probably close his ears for. FT Dumas, 7.5. If he wins, it's going to look like value here. Although Brundage is someone who I think is a great dog with lots of heart, he's not the most trustworthy fighter at that price tag. And I do like him as a person. I do like his skill set. But when you're coming in on short notice, when you're facing a guy dangerous like Dumas, I mean, Dumas's win criteria is going to score very, very well. So I think there is some value at 7.5K. I think if he does win, he excels that price tag and some. Should be a fun fight. And I apologize to Lou.
Yeah, you should. And Weezy, who's your favorite value play this week?
Yeah, it's Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week this week, which is Trevor Peak at 8,200 against the guy who's been knocked out 3 times, coming up a weight class on short notice. I think this is a smash spot. Trevor's got a 100% finish rate, all by knockout, and you know for a fact that this dude is going to fight for your money. You know, if he loses the fight, you'll probably have to bring a stretcher into the octagon and like remove him from the arena, because you're going to need to kill this dude to get him out of there. And I think that Trevor Peak is going to win this fight at a pretty high clip. So I love that price at 8,200.
Yep. If he wins, whoever wins that fight is going to look like massive value at that price tag. I think the winner scores a ton. Moving on to the dart throw. We'll stick with you, Weezy. Who are you liking as a dart throw this week?
It's not really a dart throw, but it's Loic Rajabov. I think he's going to be one of the lower-owned guys amongst the people that aren't like hardy Draftkings players. You know, like I'm putting the Tajik Tank in my lineup this week. 21 takedown attempts versus Esteban Ribovics. 21. He scored 120.17 points in that fight. I think he's the better wrestler. We're going to find out on Saturday whether he is the better wrestler here. But what I do know for a fact is that Loic has faced a much better level of competition, and he's going to be the bigger dude here. I like his style for DraftKings, so why not roster the Tajik Tank here at 7,800?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have a ton of him. So hopefully he's low owned. For me, I'm gonna go with the ultimate dart throw, and that's going to be one Josh Emmett. I mean, this guy has a puncher's chance and a really good one. He hits like an absolute truck. The guy is probably one of the hardest hitters in the division. Topuria, we saw him get dropped by Herbert. If Topuria's path, or if Topuria's game plan is to go out there and stand and bang with Josh Emmett, like Emmett's going to be super live, especially at this price tag. 6,700 if he wins. I don't think he's going to have a ton of ownership. He'll be a little bit owned, but not a ton of ownership compared to Topuria, especially. So I don't mind some shots on Emmett, but I'm going to have a ton of Topuria this week regardless. But Emmett at 6,700 makes a lot of sense in terms of a dart throw. Gordo, how about you? Who's your dart throw this week?
Yeah, my dart throw this week is going to be Joshua Vance. And we've already talked about those, so let me give you a different one instead. Bruno Silva, 7.1, and I'm with you. I do think Allen wins this fight a lot of the time, but when Silva wins, it's going to be because of he's going to be cracking the chin of Allen. I don't think Silva has that much I don't think Silva has that much minute winning equity. I don't think he has much wrestling equity. His path to victory is going to be to find the chin of Allen, someone who has been knocked out before. I don't think it's impossible for Silva, but it's definitely going to be a dart throw kind of play. Should come in at lower ownership. 7.1 allows you to get a lot of other options. Decent win condition for Silva.
All right, guys, there you have it. If you guys are in the chat, first of all, thank you for hanging out. Second, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, type them in the chat. We'll get to all the questions in a second. But first, we're going to take a look at our lineups for last week. Give our lineups for this week. We'll give her a quick picks, and then we'll answer some questions and then head out of here. A little bit short of a show because we don't have Monk on here. But last week for UFC Vegas 75, in third place, me and Gordo had the same exact lineup. Neither one of us wanted to change, and I'm kind of disappointed. I really liked that lineup, but it did not work out well, thanks to one Keith Peterson. But we have Alessandro Costa. He scored 107. Manuel Torres, 105. Ronnie Lawrence, 0.69. Marvin Vittori, 67. Denise Bondar, 42. And then Lucas Almeida, 1, scoring 324.13. So me and Gordo tied there for third. In second place was Weezy. He had Bleda, 112. Sabatini, 114. Duncan, 28. Vittori, 67. Argueta, 17. And Mota 2. He scored 342.29. And then in first place was Monk with Sarukian 124, Torres 105, Lawrence 0.69, Vittori 67, Kung Ho Kong 116, and then Almeida 1, scoring 414.99. So you're not a really good week last week, but Gordo, you're still in first place with 8,678. I'm in second place with 8,548. Weezy's in third with 8,131. And then Monk is in fourth with 7,780. Monk is 898 behind Gordo. Weezy's 547 behind Gordo. I'm 130 behind Gordo. And Gordo, you are still in first. And we are 20 cards in. This is going to be the 21st card.
Wow. Well, we're getting there for sure. I actually had a different lineup I was going to change. I played a different one in the Iron Man, but the same one as Monk. So Monk did very well there as well. If we have the same lineup this week, something's wrong.
Well, I'll go first, and we'll see if we do. Yeah, I doubt we do. I'm going to take Brendan Allen up top. I'm going to take Justin Tafa up top. I'm going to take Gabriel Santos up top. I'm going to take Trevor Peak. I'm going to take, don't close your ears, Lou. I'm going to take Dumas, and then I'm going to take Joshua Van. Gordo, what do you got for this week?
We're pretty close. I have myself here. We're going to take Ilia Topuria up top. We're going to take Justin Tafa, Trevor Peak, Lou, SD Dumas, Luik Radzabov, and then I wanted to get Ricci, but I'm $100 away, so we're going with the Canadian legend, Julian Robertson.
There we go. And then Weezy, what is your lineup for this week?
I'm going with Justin Tafa, Cody Brundage. Okay. I think he's going to wrestle the shit out of Dumas, and Dumas quit the last time out. I would not have a quitter in my lineup. Neil Magny, Trevor Peak, Julian Robertson, and wait, why does that say Rumbeski? That's wrong. Damn it. I typed Rumbeski, but it's Rajabov. It's Rajabov. So let me go over that again. Tafa, Magny, Brundage, Peak, Robertson, and Rajabov.
Sounds good to me. All right, we will get our quick picks in now, and then we'll get some questions. I don't really see many though. We'll start with you, Gordo. What are your quick picks for this week?
Yeah, my quick picks for this week, as I load it up here, we are taking. This is like the pressure's on for the Brundage one here, but we'll take Brundage here on Pub Sports Radio. We'll take Tezito Tyra. We'll take Jack Jenkins as an underdog. Trevor Peak, Zhalgas Zhumagulov, Tabitha Ricci in a close one. Luik Radzabov, Randy Brown, Neil Magny, Brendan Allen, Gabriel Santos, Justin Tafa, Amanda Ribas, and Ilia Topuria.
All right, I'm gonna go with. We're starting from the bottom here. Give me Brundage first round knockout, Tyara second round sub, Embers decision, Peak first round KO, Zhalgas decision, Ricci decision, Rajabov decision, Brown knockout 1 or 2, Magny decision, Brendan Allen sub 1, Santos sub 2. Tafa KO 1, Ribas decision, and Topuria, wherever he wants. I'm not sure. Weezy, what do you got for this week?
Cody Brundage submission round 2, Tatsuro Taira submission round 2, Jack Jenkins decision, Trevor Peak knockout round 2, Zhalgas Zhumagulov knockout round 2, Julian Robertson by decision, Luik Rajabov by decision. Randy Brown by decision, but I need to see Wellington Turman on the scale. He's cutting down from 185 to 170 for the first time in his career, so see how that goes. Magny submission round 3. I'm going to be betting that at 40 to 1. Brendan Allen submission round 2. Santos submission round 3. Tafa knockout round 1. Amanda Ribas by decision. Ilia Topuria second round submission.
Sounds good to me. All right. Let's see if we got any questions, and then we shall head out. How
about a prediction for Chris Curtis versus Anthony Hernandez from the whole panel?
I know who you're going with. So you can start us off.
So I'm worried about this matchup for Hernandez because the 2 times that we've seen Hernandez lose in the UFC, it was because dudes landed big body shots on him. What does Chris Curtis do extremely well? He lands big body shots
and defend takedowns
and
like
defend
100% clip.
Yeah, but he's defending takedowns from Rodolfo Vieira. I think that Hernandez is probably going to get him down. But yeah, on paper, this is, Chris Curtis does things very well that you need to do well in order to beat Anthony Hernandez. So I don't really have a prediction yet. I need to see where the line opens, but
predict the line.
That's a fascinating stylistic matchup. Yeah. I'm always looking to max bet Hernandez, but I don't know about in this spot.
If you had to set the line, how would you set it?
Shit, dude. I would set it. I would set it at a pick'em.
I was gonna say the same thing. -110.
I think you'll have a bit of love for Hernandez, considering like the fact that he did so well recently and Curtis did so poorly in his last fight. A little bit of recency bias to start.
People hate Curtis too much.
Which is why I might see Hernandez a bit favored.
Fights ago, these fickle picks, it's crazy, dude.
Yeah. It's crazy. I didn't see any questions. Do you have any questions, guys? Gordo, any questions? Or
No.
Weezy, you have any questions?
I don't have Gordo. What do you think about a Jack Jenkins money line bet at plus 170 this week?
I locked it in at plus 180. I already got her. It was
All
on Bet
right,
Online.
all right. Because I've been sitting there with my finger on that button. I got my fingers on 3 different buttons: a Jack Jenkins money line, a Julian Roberts money line, and a Luik Rajabov money line.
Well, I have 2 of those. I might be against you with the Canadian there, but I have played Radzabov and I have played Jenkins. Truth is, I have it's midterm week for me, so I haven't really looked into your videos at all. I'm excited to go maybe listen to you guys after the fact if you're doing Ask Weezy or something like that, and go check out Brady's stuff as well to see how you guys are breaking it down, because I'd love to see how you guys are talking about it. I only have 3 bets so far. Actually, I have 4. I have Neil Magny, Radzabov, Jenkins, and then the under in the Brown Turman fight.
Interesting. Okay, very good. Very good.
Sounds good, guys. All right, should be a fun week. Should be a very fun week. Very fun card. Really looking forward to it. Just from top to bottom. I'm gonna finally get to watch the fights I haven't watched in the last 2 weeks. I'll be watching this one, but I'm gonna kick it around real quick. Gordo, what do you have planned for this week?
Yeah, for me, my content is 99% done. I have 1 video I'm filming directly after this for Daily Fan MMA with Brett Apley. That'll be up there on the website. For me, myself, my video, my full card breakdown is already up on the Plays and Fades YouTube channel. Draftkings, betting breakdown, all of that is there. And I really urge you guys go check that out. It's a fun video this week. I'm really looking forward to the card, and I think I put together a decent video talking about it there. You can follow me on Twitter at GamblesGordo, and I wish everyone the best of luck this weekend.
All right, there you go. Weezy, the plan for this week. I see you're going tonight for some Ask Weezy, huh?
Ask Weezy, 10 o'clock. We got a lot of questions to answer this week. This is a fascinating card, 14 fights. So, yeah, join me tonight there at 10 o'clock. I'll be giving out a greasy 4-leg parlay on my channel on Friday, and you can always find me on Pub Sports Radio 3 different times a week talking fights with you guys. So let's stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC Jacksonville and bathe in the blood of our vanquished DraftKings enemies, you guys. Let's go.
That is always the goal. Yeah, I just posted my full card breakdown. It got out a little bit late this week, but it's out. Going to be going live Friday for the weigh-in show. I think I'm going on Narco's Lambo show as well on Friday, and then Saturday will be the best bet shows. So check me out over there. Like, subscribe, all the good stuff. We'll talk to you guys soon. Best of luck for UFC Jacksonville. See you later.